The next story of the day is about this caravan that is approaching the United States. I believe some reports are saying it's up to 7,000 people now. Some reports saying it's up to 10,000 people. Before I even get into should it get into the United States or not, I just want to say this basic element of common sense that I hope would get through to people. So first off, in Syria, in Libya, in Iraq, I know this is very unpopular amongst both sides of the political debate. You had the leader of Libya, get ambushed by rebels and some terrorist groups and murdered, and now there's slave trade and organ harvesting in Libya because there's a power vacuum. In Syria, there were terrorist groups such as ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, and also rebels that the United States and other countries were funding to overturn the leader of Bashar al-Assad. This is no fringe conspiracy. This is just what happened. Both sides of mainstream media and independent journalism will tell you this and the same. No one's hiding it. So you have to understand, when it comes to certain countries, it's no secret that when certain people and certain media sources and certain politicians and certain agendas, when they're not in power, they will get power. They will try to get power. And in Syria, I'm going to talk to Treka later because I'm curious to see how it happened, but I've spoken to him before. They did it through open borders. They did it through protests turning violent and uncivil and using that as kind of a temporary power vacuum to bring in, outside sources such as rebels who then try to overturn the government. So this is something that people have done all over the world. And the same politicians that have done it, or the same entities that have done it, are now playing the race, identity, politics, social justice warrior card to try to convince a lot of left-leaning activists and even progressives who know about the war in Libya, they know about the war in Iraq, and they know about the war in Syria, but when you straight left, you play this identity politics of race, religion, gender. No, we got to let these people in because they're so good, because they're Latina and Hispanic, and it's bad. This is how they play you. The same politicians you don't like in other countries. I mean, why wouldn't they do that here? What makes you so special in America? Besides the Second Amendment, it makes it a lot harder to do, thank goodness, and it's a big country, but overall, it's not out of the realm. I'm not saying that's happening. I'm not saying I'm 100% sure, but what I'm saying, it's not out of the realm. I mean, look at history. Look at United States history. Look at the world wars. Look at the invasions. Look at all of the crazy things that have happened. I don't want that to happen again. But how does it happen when you become so naive and foolish and weak in the mind that you allow it to happen? So when it comes to this caravan, outside of the racial and ethnicity aspect of it, if 10,000 or 5,000 to 10,000 people from America say they were all white people, in a caravan that's growing, and they're going towards the border of Canada or Mexico, no, even if we were impoverished or if we're doing very well with the economy, I would tell Canada or Mexico, don't let these people in. Who are these people? You think I would allow them in just if it was 10,000 white people coming on a boat from Norway or Sweden just because they were white? No, I wouldn't want them either, because who are they? Just because they're white Americans doesn't mean they're not sex offenders, doesn't mean they're not murderers, doesn't mean they're not crackheads and heroin addicts that you wouldn't want in your country. I mean, it's just common sense, folks. You gotta judge people on content of character, like Martin Luther King said, not just paint them with this broad brush of perfect. You have this one side of the political debate, and like I said, the right wing is totally not perfect at all, but for some reason, the left plays this identity politics game where they say, America, these people are bad. This gender is bad. This race is bad. This race is good. These political people are bad. So they don't like more than half the country here, but they have this weird globalist view of the world where it's like, all these people are good. Mexico, everyone's perfect in Mexico. Everyone in Honduras is perfect. Everybody in this caravan is perfect. And if you don't want to let them in because they're poor, you're a horrible person because they just want your help. This is exactly how our country is going to get invaded. This is exactly how we're going to get exploited if you have this ideology. How many white people going to Canada or Norway, how many of them are murderers, rapists? These are things, regardless of their race, you have to look into. Because if you're having this like rolling caravan, you're not going to pick up the biggest winners, to be honest. You're going to probably pick up some really sketchy people, if not a large majority of it. So this whole idea that the caravan needs to get let in, or you're racist, or you're horrible, or you don't like poor people, it's just such a goofy ideology, especially when in the world, if you really study the world, billions. This is the sad, harsh reality of the world, and I wish someone would do something about it. Billions of people, billions with a B, don't have access to clean water, clean sanitation water. They don't have, 1/8 of what you have. You probably make in a month more than what they make in 5 years, like a huge, huge percentage of the world. If you would let everybody into the United States, all of these people, there would literally be 4 times, 8 times as many people that live in the United States now coming into the United States. I want to help everybody off the street, but I don't let them all live in my apartment, or else I'm not going to have an apartment to live in, and then everyone loses. Just like the United States, you can't possibly bring in every single person who's hurting, unfortunately, because math and science just doesn't work out in your favor when you do that. It's no different with this caravan. So look at the situation. Who are these people? Why are they coming? Who paid them? Who funded the caravan? Why is this really a thing that they're doing? Just loading people into a caravan and putting them into another country. And these are the ways that we're going to be exploited. I'm not saying, I'm sure a majority of them are great people, but you have to understand, it's not a right-wing or a Trumpian conspiracy theory that a lot of the world doesn't like the United States. You can even listen to somebody who, people would consider a black activist or whatever. People really don't like him, but what I'm saying, he's not a fan of Trump. He's not a fan of America in many ways. Louis Farrakhan, he'll even tell you, in many parts of the world, there's a lot of people who really don't like the United States. This is no secret on the right or the left, black or white. It's just the truth. So if you set the precedence of anybody can come to our country at any time as long as you just hop in one of these caravans, and then you're going to be allowed to get in via the media who basically says it's totally okay. And it's not just left-wing media doing it. To be honest, even Fox News. That's why I don't even promote Fox News that much. I'm not, but they're playing the game too. They're like, oh, we got to let these people in. Oh, of course. So I'm just saying this is how we're going to get exploited. And if countries and people that want to come in and ruin the United States, and trust me, there's tens, if not hundreds of millions of them, what easier way to do than just say, oh, hop in this caravan, and then the media is going to support us, and then we're going to rally ourselves right into the United States. So I could talk about this all day, and we could talk about who they are, but this is the rare conversation, because everyone's going to have the basic conversation. Don't let them in. Let them in. Don't. What I'm telling you is I've studied what happened in Libya and Syria and Iraq, and it's a lot of invasion. It's a lot of other people coming in. Yes, it's harder to do that in the United States for multiple reasons, but make no mistake, if we set this precedent that you're allowed to go in just because of your race, it's just a very foolish ideology. I don't care what skin color, ethnicity, country you come from. Everyone is not good. Everyone is not bad. Personally, even bad people, I think, maybe they have problems or they're weak. I don't like to look at people as bad inherently, but I also don't like to home millions of people who are crack and heroin addicts and rapists and child sex offenders, and that goes for people of all ethnicities in America. I'm just saying there's no reason whatsoever on the planet that we should look at the caravan and say, all these people, for sure they should come in, they need our help. Who knows who they are? Who knows what previous charges they are? Who knows what affiliations they have? And yes, there have been reports, although the media says it's completely fake and it's not real, there have been reports that there have been terrorist organizations from the Middle East found in Central American countries. This is real reporting. I know the mainstream media says that's a fabrication. They twist it to make it be like, oh, well, there's no proof that it's been in the caravan, which might be true. But there are Middle Eastern organizations that are terrorist organizations that have been, supported indirectly from other countries as well. They're found around here. So if we just become like an open doormat of just like, we're so dumb, we're so foolish, we're so naive, we hate ourselves, we hate our own country, we hate our own people, but we love the rest of the world so much. It's how you get feminists. I know it became mainstream news. Alyssa Milano got questioned on why she supports Linda Sarsour, who supports, a certain ideology that has led to women's, genitals being mutilated, where it's like, that's a real thing in Europe now. There's female genital mutilation because an ideology came in where they mutilate women's genitals. And the irony is the feminists in the Western world support these women so much. So that's what happens when you become foolish and weak. You end up hurting women. You end up hurting children. You end up hurting the people that you claim to be helping. This doesn't help Latinos in America. This doesn't help Black Americans whatsoever. This doesn't help white and multicultural Americans, immigrants whatsoever. Nothing about this caravan has anything to do with the rest of the immigration process and all the people who live here. That's a media and identity politics trap to exploit us. And they do it on every single angle. Women, children, what right, left, race, religion. It's such a trap. And in no way, shape, or form should this caravan just be able to come in, because if we set this precedent, no matter who these people are, we're going to set the precedent of complete demise for a country, and it's already happening. It's why, although I say all the time that obviously the right is not perfect, and there's a lot of people on that side that are not doing the right things, I am just so disenfranchised by the leftist ideology, because it's the opposite of my personal mantra, which is change yourself to change the world, be strong, love yourself, self-accountability. It's the opposite. It's no self-accountability, no self-love, complete hatred, complete identity politics, complete racism, to be honest. It's judging people based on their skin color, telling Black and Latino people and women that they're weak and they're lower, and then if they try to be powerful in their mind, which is like everything, then they knock them down a peg and say you can't think that way. It's totally horrific when it comes to like self-empowerment. So I'm just disenfranchised by leftist ideology. I don't understand anything about it. To me, it's the exact opposite of what's positive and good in the world. So while there might be, bad people on the right, I'm talking strictly about it in ideology that is fueling the whole left. And if you hop out of it, like someone like a Tim Pool, who's literally left-leaning, doesn't even really like Trump, but's trying to tell the truth, you're not allowed on that side like a cult. They scream at you, they yell at you, they call you all these names. I just don't understand. So nothing about it makes sense to me. It's a total ploy, and obviously something about this, the fact that the media has been covering this, there's all sorts of stuff going on in the world, and the media was covering this caravan from the very beginning. To me, it's an obvious setup, and it's an obvious precedent of things to come. If you let this go through, and you let this be a normal thing, then don't be surprised if terrorist organizations from all over the world use that as an easy in and continuously exploit our country for their own gain. And we have enough to worry about in our own country. We have enough poverty. We have enough homelessness. We have enough of all this stuff. I'm not saying to stop immigration, but we have immigration. We have a policy. We intake refugees already. I mean, I just don't understand how this makes any sense. But as always, I'm up to discussion and debate over it.